is the objective of a poem for two voices?
There are two people and their settlement is coming from, and two people say the thing from two different people's perspective about the same thing.
And you have two people's perspective on that particular topic or event. It doesn't have to be a topic, it can be an event, right? Because we all know that there's two sides to every situation. Okay, when my daughter says to me, "Stop yelling at me," and I don't think I'm yelling, right? It's the same circumstance, but we see it from two different places, right? So the EQ for this particular assignment is how can I use a poem for two voices to demonstrate my knowledge of historical events? It really depends on the perspective of the author or the person telling the story. So, we talked yesterday, I wanted you to think about two historical people we have studied and come up with a topic that they might have in common, that they might kind of have a discussion about. And it's not really a true discussion, is it? It's really just kind of presenting two sides of the same issue. You can choose two specific people, or you can choose two kind of generic types of people. And we're going to do a quick brainstorm list of options we have. Okay? So let's do a quick brainstorm. And I'm just going to put verses. It's not really like a fight. As a matter of fact, I'll just do this. Okay? So I'll put one person here and one person here. What do you think, Aubrey? What options? Slave and plantation owner. Obviously, we have very strong opinions about how life is. Yes? A pirate, sorry, and a merchant. Not a merchant, but what? A merchant shipment, right?
Yeah.
So we'll say merchant ship owner. It'll be easier. What else?
Lords, proprietors, and colonists.
Okay. Definitely would have different points of view, but they might share. Could they potentially share a goal?
Settling, yes.
Yes, they could. But they're going to have different ways to get there, aren't they? Yes. I prefer we keep it to like historical things that we've learned specifically. Yes.
And Bonnie and Bill Pirate.
Okay. And I know exactly why he's choosing this. Because she called them all what?
Dogs.
Cowardly dogs, didn't she? Okay, yes.
And Bonnie and her dad, because he really wanted her to grow up to be like a lovely lady, but she wanted to grow up and be a pirate.
Okay, that's totally legitimate. We did learn about that, didn't we? So we'll do her again. She had lots of conflicts, didn't she?
Yes.
So I want you to use a Venn diagram as a graphic organizer for your thoughts. So, how would that work? Let's say we choose, I don't want to choose somebody you might use. So let's say we choose, who could we choose that isn't on our list?
Maybe, like, does it have to be like for social studies?
Let's choose Harry Potter and Voldemort. He who shall not be named, right? So we'll call this Harry Potter. This is the big B. Okay. So this would be the lines that what? He says, what would go in this part? These are the things that only Harry feels, right? This is Voldemort's point of view on the events, yes? This would be where they what? Speak together. Those are the lines that they speak together. Okay? This is going to help you organize your thoughts. And this will really help in your planning. So, who can give me something Harry Potter might say, just to show you how this works? Right.
Killed my parents.
And then you would say, for example, let me make this a little skinnier. He killed my parents. Now, what might Voldemort say at the same time? What would be a similar thought? So you got to kind of get,
I killed his parents.
I killed his parents. Because he did, didn't he? All right, so that, but what is our general agreed upon topic or event? Do you think we can just kind of be generic and do all the Harry Potters?
No.
We could for this example, but for yours, we're going to hone in on a specific historical event. That's going to be the twist, okay? So for yours, you would have speaker one, and that way you can skip a line. Let's say he's going to say, how does he feel about Snape?
Snape is a bad guy.
Yeah. So we'll say Snape is my enemy.
Snape is my ally.
And what might he say at the same time?
Snape is Snape.
Snape is my enemy. Because for a long time, nobody really knew, right? What side Snape was on. He was kind of like a double agent.
Yeah. He's the double.
Okay, so when they're speaking together, it goes on the same line. When they're speaking separate, you go here and then here. Does that make sense to everybody? And this will help you organize it. And then you can put it on a nice, illustrated document. But right now, we're just trying to get our thoughts together. So, here's the exact task. You are to choose a pair of people. You are to write a poem for two voices. Go to here. You are to create a Venn diagram to organize your thoughts. You're to use the rough draft sheet to do your writing. And the only other criteria is this. This is going to be what you're going to have to go back to your notes for, okay? You must somehow you must work in 4 factual things about your people. It is social studies, it's history. You have the information. So you have to incorporate 4 factual. Okay? So I want to see 4 facts in your poem. I want to see a minimum of 15 lines. Okay, you need to agree. So you're going to have to, if you don't agree, I'm going to suggest that you start crossing off the things that you're not interested in. You have to remember that you're talking in somebody else's voice. What that means is you can't use slang or terminology from this day and age. We've done enough reading about all of these people that you should be able to speak in the way that you know that they would probably speak. Okay? So we don't want to say, he steals my things. Do you think that is how a pirate or a merchant seaman would have talked?
No.
He steals my goods.
That's exactly the word exactly. He steals my goods. Right?
They were kidnapped. They didn't come willingly.
She wants more fame. She has fame. Fame, and she has land. She has fame, she has money, she has power.
It might help if you just focus on one. How might the slave feel about this life situation? And then go back and say, what's his point of view? So just kind of brainstorm. It doesn't have to be line by line. Just brainstorm things that the slave weapons.
In the middle, powerful armada. We are obviously going to change this language.
Okay, so instead of just a word, what does this word mean? Fame. What does that mean?
Popularity throughout the country.
Okay, but what is her feeling? We're trying to get to looking at this history through somebody else's eyes. What's her goal? What are her goals or objectives, do you think?
She wants to be famous and everyone to like her.
Really about
She
fame.
wants to be famous to a friend. She doesn't want to be like him. He has enemies. Like he's famous to enemies. Like nobody likes him, but they know him. They're both famous. But she has fame for friends and he is.
I think you need to sit down and really talk through what your objectives are. Okay, what was the Queen's objective in sending Raleigh over here?
To crush Spain and get everybody to like her.
So it's, I will crush Spain. That's the idea.
See, they both want. No, wait. I'm guessing that they both want each other dead. And
No, that's not really how they thought. See, you guys are just, you're getting into like all of you, you're putting your stamp on what really happened. You have to focus on the facts of what you know. So you go back to your notes and you have to say, what do we know about the Queen? Right? And this was during the time that North Carolina was being settled. Go back to your notes and focus on that. Okay, he respects her for something. I called him a coward. She called me a coward. I get mad when he holds back. When I hold back, she gets mad. Now, I think you guys can get a little bit more with, instead of, when he holds back, I get mad. Instead of him saying, she gets mad when I hold back, what might he say? Can somebody help them here? Katie?
She calls me a coward for little things.
Yeah. Or she expects too much from me.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't think of yourself as someone that.
Instead of just going completely opposite to one statement, you can make a statement like, I get mad when he holds back, and he can say, well, what does she expect? Or, not every situation calls for bravery. Right? And that's kind of an opposing viewpoint without using the exact same word. Right. But do you see all the information they have? And they've used things that we learned. They learn things, they've got things in here, facts about what it meant to be a female pirate. If I had the chance, I would maroon him. This tells us that they remember that when we talked about pirates, that was one of the biggest punishments you could have is to be marooned on an island with what? Water, bottle of water, and a pistol. Okay? This is what I'm looking for. Now this is not complete and they're going to change their wording, but they've got the idea, so now they're ready to do this piece. And this is your rough draft. This is where you actually try to get the words out, the thoughts. Does anybody have questions at this point? Okay, you guys are doing great. It is hard to try to look at things through somebody else's eyes, but that is something that we really have to learn to do. You got the right idea. Let's put it in the right language. So how am I Well, my objective today was not so much content, it was more process. We just finished a book called Roanoke, which gave us a really detailed back information on the whole story and why the colony failed. Most of that information isn't included in a textbook. So it sparked a discussion about how different books on the same topic can give completely different summaries or information about an event. So one of the standards that we talk about in language arts is being able to look at situations or find out what the author's purpose was. So I was kind of tying in language arts and social studies. And so I wasn't looking at a specific topic. I gave them options for all the different things that we've studied this year with the objective of trying to get them to read things more critically.
And what do you think worked about the lesson?
I think it helped to require them to do a Venn diagram. I didn't require it last year when I did this assignment, and I felt like they went straight into the writing without giving it as much thought. So that was something new I introduced. I think the planning sheet is really going to help them. For those who are not familiar with Poems for Two Voices, it's a great literary way for kids to express what they know and also try to approach what they know from two different perspectives.
And do you have any advice for teachers?
My advice for teachers in general is to make sure that if you're doing something quiet, that you alternate it with something active with a partner where they can talk, and then get them back to some quiet time, and make sure you get, especially elementary school kids, they need time. Within every hour they should be up and moving for 15 minutes because it helps them focus more on the times when you need them to be quiet and do independent work. So the other thing is I would recommend that you have a simple system for creating partners like the clock buddies that we talked about. We do that at the beginning of the year. They keep it all year. If I say you're using your 4 o'clock buddy, they know exactly who that 4 o'clock person is, and that's their partner for this project. And we don't have to go through picking a partner, and it doesn't take a lot of instruction time. It's pretty simple.